So let's talk about first and foremost. Palworld 100% just like plagiarized shit. Like if you look at other like Mons like games like Digimon or Yokai Watch or whatever. Like if you lined up a Digimon, a Yokai, and a Pokemon, I would be like, okay, I can tell you which one is which. That's a Pokemon, that's a Digimon, that's a Yokai. They have these, they have all those very distinct, aesthetics to them. If you threw a PAL from Palworld in there, I would say, oh, that's a Yokai, that's a Digimon, and those are two Pokemon. Because they have no visual identity of their own. Their whole gimmick is, hey, 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 we look like Pokemon. And I'm not here to talk like legally or morally about that. Like, plagiarism is always wrong. Whatever. These devs are not known necessarily for creative ideas. If you look at some of their other games, such as Nevergrave or Craftopia, those are just blatant rip-offs of other games. Like, you can straight up just, like, Google those games, and you'll be like, oh, this looks exactly like something else. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, that we know that Palworld is, it's blatantly rip-off Pokemon designs, while also having no unique visual identity of its own. Palworld, the whole premise of Palworld, it's Pokemon with guns. It's, oh, this is Pokemon. This is what, we want. It's what we want Pokemon to be. And all of this shit. Everyone's always like, oh man, we want an open world Pokemon game that's more serious, that's more mature themes, that's more serious, that is blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's always that. It's always been that among Pokemon fans. Everyone who loves Pokemon is never actually happy with Pokemon. Pokemon fans are never happy. They hate Pokemon. Nobody hates Pokemon more than Pokemon fans. Except they all have one game that they think is the best Pokemon game. That's just all Pokemon fans. So, Palworld. Back to the topic. Palworld is being sold to us as Pokemon. It's the Pokemon X game that you've always wanted. It's mature and everything. But when you actually sit down and like look at it, and you're like, okay, it's not at all what we want, because there's no meaningful, like, listen, maybe I'm going to sound like a dumb fucking sentimental idiot, and maybe I don't understand Pokemon, and you can say both of those things are correct. I think that the most important part of Pokemon games is is catching the monsters, making them more powerful, and creating a bond with them. And that's the whole thing. These are your teammates. These are you're I love that aspect of things. They're your friends. They aren't monsters, they are friends. Yes, exactly. They join you on your entire journey together from fucking start to finish. They are with you for everything, through thick and thin. They're the reason that you're able to excel. You rely on them more than they rely on you. That's the point of Pokemon. And usually overcoming like substantial odds with them at your side. That's the whole like dealio. And that's my favorite part of Pokemon too. In Palworld, there isn't any of that. You are just constantly catching things all in bulk because you make them your little slave army. Making a Pokemon game where the whole point is to not, create and forge bonds with your pals, it fundamentally misunderstands the Mons like genre. I mean, right? If all you're doing is catching Pokemon for forced labor, listen, you could take the pals out of Palworld and just make it a really awful fucking slavery management game, and it would be essentially the same. The pals don't add anything except to say, hey, 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 we're like Pokemon. You know Pokemon? Yeah, Pokemon. We're Pokemon. Play us. We're like Pokemon. You like Pokemon? You should play our game. And it worked. It worked. And so, if we look at Palworld, which fundamentally misunderstands what a Mons like, a monster, pocket monster, capture monster, whatever you want to call it, genre, is supposed to be, then all it would have left to rely on is the crafting aspect of the game. And the crafting is dull, grindy, and done by a million other games better. It's just very bare bones, by the numbers, and then the open world is essentially procedurally generated. It's boring. It's just a lot of empty space where there's not much to do, and so then there's no and it's early access. I'll give them this. It is early access, and they have plenty of opportunities to change this. However, I think that the fundamental design philosophy of the game doesn't really allow for that to happen.